Hey, okay, so now we're going to talk about rectangles, triangles, and trapezoids. Okay, so let's talk about the different measurements that are used in different ways. So let's talk about linear measurements real quick. So whenever I talk about linear measurements, I'm talking about just like the height of something. So if I want to know how tall I am, I measure just how tall. I'm going in just a straight line and I'm measuring my height at 5 feet 5 inches. Or if I want to measure the width of my countertop, I just measure just one dimension, one direction. And so linear is used, so whenever we say someone is 5 feet tall, we say that they are strictly 5 feet. We don't say 5 feet squared or 5 square feet or anything like that. Linear is just a simple unit of measure, whether it be inches, centimeters, feet, whatever. Okay, oops. Okay, so then whenever we talk about square units are used when you want to know how much a surface is or how wide or how much to cover a surface. Like if you're putting carpet down in a house, or if you're putting wallpaper up on a wall, you would want to know how many square feet or how many square inches something is. And the reason why we call them square is because you have feet times feet. And whenever you have a variable times a variable, you get that variable squared. So that's why whenever we're talking about area, we talk about square feet, square inches. Now keep in mind that you could do this. You could write it as feet squared, or some people say square feet. So it doesn't really matter. Just understand that if you are finding the area of any region, your unit of measure needs to be feet squared or square feet or whatever other measurement you're using, whether it be yards or inches. Now, when we talk about cubic units, that's if I want to fill something. So if I have a bucket that I want to fill with water, or if I have a garden bed that I want to put mulch in or dirt, then I talk about cubic inches or cubic feet. And usually it's written like this or like this. Sometimes you will see it also like this. And keep in mind that feet could be inches or yards or whatever the case may be that you're measuring with. So these are just the different ways. So remember, linear is just one dimension. Square is if you're dealing with 2 dimensions, so length and width, or height and width or something like that. Cubic would be if you're filling something up like a flower bed or a bucket. Okay, so perimeter and area, these haven't changed, but right now we're going to talk about them in terms of rectangles or squares. And so a perimeter is a measure of the distance around a figure. And the area is the measure of the surface covered by a figure. Let's talk more about that on the next page. Okay, so if each of these squares is 1 inch on each side, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, and then this is also 1, this is 1, this is 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. So all of these are ones. So if I want to know what the perimeter is, I want to add up all the sides. So my perimeter is this side right here, so 1 plus this side is 3 plus this side is 1, and then this side is also 3. So my perimeter is 1 plus 3 plus 1 plus 3, which is 8. And they tell us that our unit of measure is inches, so we would say 8 inches. You can also use or write 8 inches like this, or you could say 8 inches. Okay, so if I want to find the area, so the area is, that's probably not a good color to use, hold on. Okay, so the area There, that's a little bit darker. All right, so the area is length times width. So let's call our length 3, and our width is 1. So our area is 3. Remember, we talk about area in terms of square inches. So you can say inches squared, or you can say square inches. You can write that out. So our area is 3, and our perimeter is 8. Okay, so if we're talking about rectangles, then everybody should know that there are certain properties of rectangles. So a rectangle has 4 sides. This side. Here, let me do this. This side, this side, this side, and this side. Notice, though, that the opposite sides are the same variable. That means that they're equal to each other. And so your lengths will be the same on both sides. Your widths will be the same on both sides. Also, rectangles have 4 right angles in the corners. That's how those side lengths can be the same, is because those angles are right angles. Okay, so it says here opposite sides are the same length. It says we refer to one side of the rectangle as the length and the adjacent side as the width. Length, width. Now, again, it doesn't matter if these are opposite. So if you see a W right here, you'd have a W up here. You could have an L here and an L here. It does not matter really which one you call length or width. The perimeter, again, is you add up all of your sides. So you've got length plus your width plus your length plus your width. But remember, your L's are the same, so we actually have 2 L's plus 2 W's. And your area is length times width. Okay, so on this example, we're going to find the length of the the length is 32, the width is 20. We're going to find the perimeter and the area. Always, 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 whenever I'm doing these problems, I draw a picture. It may not be the best picture in the whole world, but at least it gets the point across, okay? And it says that the length is 32 meters. So this guy right here is 32 meters. The width is 20 meters, so this is 20 meters. Okay, so according to our formula, remember our perimeter is equal to 2 times your length plus 2 times your width. So this is equal to 2 times 32 plus 2 times 20. And 2 times 32 is 64. 2 times 20 is 40. Adding those together, we get 104 meters. Okay, so now we want to find the area, and your area is equal to length times your width. So we've got 32 times 20. And whenever you multiply those together, you get 640 meters. Don't forget that with area, we have our units squared, so you would say meters squared or square meters. So our perimeter is 104 meters, and our area is 640 square meters. Okay, so in this problem it says, find the length of a rectangle with a perimeter of 50 inches and a width of 10 inches. So this time we don't know our length. We know that it's a rectangle. It's a terrible rectangle, but it's a rectangle. It says that the perimeter is equal to 50 inches. And it says our width is 10. So I don't know my L, okay? So I'm going to still use my formula, and I'm going to put in what I know. What I know is I know my P. The P is 50. I don't know the L, so I'm going to leave that as 2L. And then I've got my width, which is 10. And now I'm going to do my algebra, and I'm going to solve for L. All right, so let's do the math. So we've got 50 is equal to 2L plus 20. Subtract 20. Let me move this up a little bit. I've got 50 minus 20, which is 30. And then divide by 2. So L is equal to 15. 15 what though? We're dealing with inches here, so make sure you tell me 15 inches. Okay, now you can also check your work. So let's add this up. I've got 15 here and 15 here. 15 and 15 is 30, 40, 30 for these two, and then 20 for these two, and 30 and 20 is 50. So I feel like we did this very well. Okay, so for this problem, it says the width of a rectangle is 2 inches less than the length. So we have a rectangle, and it says that the width is 2 inches less than the length. So I would have L minus 2. Okay, and that means that this side is also L minus 2. This side is just L, and this side is just L. Okay, so using our formula again, so our perimeter, it says our perimeter is 52 inches, so I'm going to put 52 right here. It says to find the length and the width, so let's see here. I've got 2 times L, because our length is still just length. 2 times, but instead of W, I'm going to put L minus 2, and that will help us solve for L. Now, if I put W in there, then I would have 2 variables. Remember, if you're going to solve for a variable, you need to be down to only one variable. So that's why I put L in this spot right here, L minus 2, sorry, instead of just plain old W. So now let's do the math. I'm going to distribute. So then I'm going to add my like terms. And now we're going to solve for L. So 56 is equal to 4L, and then divide by 4. I'm going to scoot this up a little bit. So L is equal to 14. 14 what? What are we dealing with here? We're dealing with inches. So 14 inches is my L. Okay, so now it tells me right here that my width is my length minus 2. So if I have my length, which is 14, I know that my width is 12. And then add them up. And then make sure they equal. What do we hope they equal? 52 inches right up here. And then 24 plus 28 is 52. So I know that we have found the correct dimensions. So L is 14 inches and our width is 12 inches. Okay, for this problem, we have something that is very similar to the last problem, only this time it says that our length is 4 centimeters more. 4 more, that's 4 plus, twice the width, that's 2W. So this side is just W, this side is just W, and then the length on that top is also 4 plus 2W. So we're still going to use our formula. Perimeter is equal to 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. But it tells me that the perimeter is 32 centimeters. So for P, I'm going to substitute in 32. For the L, I'm going to use 4 plus 2W plus 2W. All right, so now we have to distribute. We have to get rid of those parentheses. So I've got 32 is equal to 8 plus 4W plus 2W. Add them babies together. Now we're going to get the W by itself, so I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. I get 24. Why isn't it writing? There we go. 24 is equal to 6W. Scoot this up a little bit. Divide by 6. W is equal to 4. So what is W? W is our width. So our width is 4 centimeters, since that's the unit of measure that we're using. And remember, since width is just one dimension, we are looking at plain old centimeters, not centimeters squared or square centimeters. So now we have to find our length though. So let's put in what we know. Remember, we've got this right here. 2 times, instead of W, I'm going to put in 4 because that's what we just found. So our length is equal to 4 plus 8. Our length is equal to 12 centimeters. And those are your 2 answers. Okay, on this one, the area of a rectangular room is 168 square feet. Again, drawing my rectangle. The area, that's all this stuff in here. Also, I forgot to tell you earlier, you can use SF for square feet. That's pretty typical. It says that the length is 14 feet, and we are trying to find the width. Remember, the formula for area of a rectangle is length times width. I know my area. I know my length. I don't know my width. So then how do we solve for W? We divide both sides by 14. And we get that W is equal to 12 what? Feet. Not square feet, that's what area is. This is just a width, so it's one dimension. So it's only feet. All right, on this one, we've got the perimeter of a rectangular swimming pool is 150 feet. The length is 15 feet more than the width. So this side is also W, and this is 15 plus W. So I know my perimeter, and remember, we're going to use perimeter formula. So perimeter is 150. My length is 15 plus W, and my width is just W. So again, distribute. And I'm going to combine my like terms. And get that W by itself. And then divide by 4. So W is equal to, looks like 30. 30 what? We're dealing with feet. So we would say 30 feet. So how do you find your length? Well, take that 30 and put it in where we see W right there. So our length is equal to 15 plus, instead of W, I'm going to put 30. So our length is equal to 45 feet. So these are the 2 answers we're looking for. Okay, so now we're going to talk about triangles. Triangles have 3 sides. So all triangles have 3 sides. All 3 sides can be different lengths, but must meet at a vertex. Now, a vertex just means a place that makes an angle, okay? So it's a change in direction is what vertex means. So if this leg is going up, the vertex is where it turns and goes back down again. Okay, so it says all 3 sides of a triangle have a sum of 180. No matter what kind of triangle it is, all 3 sides add up to be 180 degrees. The perimeter does not change from that of any other figure. Your perimeter is always going to be your side plus your side plus your side. Your area is a little bit different this time, and your area is equal to half of your base times your height. Okay, and it's important to note that the base is always perpendicular to the height. That's why right here, the height occurs outside of the triangle, because the height has to be perpendicular to the base, even if the base has to extend out. See, if I had brought it up at a right angle right here, that's what perpendicular means, is right angle. If I had brought it up right here, that's not technically the height. The height is your highest point of the triangle. Okay, so that's why this height occurs on the outside. This is called an obtuse triangle, and so the height will occur on the outside. All right, so now we're going to find the area of a triangle. So we've got, and you guys, I'm just going to draw a typical triangle. I'm not drawing any special triangle. Pretend like these lines meet up. All right, so it's got a base of 11 inches. and it's got a height of 8 inches. Okay, so remember the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So we've got area is equal to 1/2 times 11 times 8. Now, I want you guys to realize that whenever you multiply numbers together, you can multiply in any order. So taking half of 11, I don't think that's as easy as taking half of 8. So in my head, whenever I do this math, I typically do 1/2, and I can rearrange because of the commutative property. Oops, that's not 18, that's 11. And now it's easier for me to take half of 8 since that's an even number. It doesn't always work out that way, but in this case it does. So half of 8 is 4. 4 times 11 is 44. And don't forget, we found area, so this would be square inches. All right, so on this one, again, we're talking about a triangle. So we've got a triangular garden, and it says that the perimeter is equal to 24 feet. The lengths of 2 of the sides are 4 feet and 9 feet. Notice my drawing is not to scale. And this side we don't know. And so we want to know how long the third side is. So remember, perimeter is A plus B plus C on those sides. So my perimeter is 24. My first side is 4. And I don't know my last side. And to get C by itself, oops, that shouldn't be a plus. Oops. I'm going to subtract 13 from both sides. 24 minus 13 is 11. So my last side is 11. My iPad, sorry, is doing weird things right now. 11 feet. Okay, so now we've got this area of this church window, and it says that the area is equal to 90 square meters. And we know that the area is 1/2 base times height. It says that the base is 15 meters, and they want to know what h is, what our height is. So I'm going to substitute my values that I know in this problem, and I know area, which is 90. I know my base, which is 15, and I don't know my height. Let's scoot this up. All right, so I get 90 is equal to 1/2 times 15 is the same thing as 15 over 2. Use your calculator if the fractions get to you, it's okay. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 15 over 2. Incidentally, that's the same thing as whenever you have 90 divided by 15 over 2. That's the same thing as 90 times 2 over 15. Okay, and 15 goes into 90. Let's see here, what, 6 times? And then 6 times 2 is 12. So I know that my height is 12 meters. Okay, so there's a couple of different special triangles that we have going on here. This one right here is an isosceles triangle. Isosceles means that 2 of the sides are the exact same. This third one is not, okay? But 2 of them are the same length. That's isosceles. Equilateral, which has the word equal in it, kind of, it's spelled a little weird, but it does have equal in there. So that means that all 3 of the sides are the same length. So that's how isosceles and equilateral are different. Equilateral has all 3 sides the same. Isosceles only has 2. Okay, so whenever you're reading these problems, it's important that you pick out the important words. And so in this one it says perimeter, that's an important word. Equilateral, that's an important word, triangle, 93 inches. Okay, find the length of each side. So my perimeter is equal to side plus side plus side. But in this case, I know that all 3 of those sides are the same length. So my perimeter is 93. I can add up 1s plus 1s plus 1s is 3s. Divide by 3. And s, or side length, is equal to 31. 31 what? What are we dealing with? Inches. So 31 inches is each side. And keep in mind, if you add up 31 plus 31 plus 31, you would get 93. Okay, so on this one, it says Ariana has 156 inches of beading to use as trim around a scarf. The scarf will be an isosceles triangle, so that means two sides are the same. It kind of looks like equilateral. Maybe I should draw that better. Oops. My iPad is messing up right now. Okay, so there we go. That's a little bit better of an isosceles. All right, so it says that our perimeter is 156 inches. I know that this side is side. I don't know the two sides that are equal to each other, but I do know that my base is 60. So in this case, I've got 156, is equal to 60, which is one side, plus the other side, which are the same length. Remember, because it's isosceles. All right, so we have 156 is equal to 60 plus 2s, subtract 60. So 156 minus 60 is 96. And then divide by 2. So S is equal to 48 inches. So one of the sides. So how long can she make the two equal sides? She can make them 48 inches. Okay, so now we're going to talk about trapezoids. So trapezoids, they all have four sides. Okay, so there's one side, there's one side, there's one side, and there's one side. Okay, so with a trapezoid, your smaller base is going to be written with a lowercase b, and your larger base will have an uppercase b. So this is your long base, your big B. This is your little b. Your height is the distance between the two bases, and your height will always make right angles towards both or to both bases. All right, so let's see what we can do with trapezoids. Oh, before I forget, these sides, your bases, are always parallel to each other. That means that they never ever cross each other. Okay, so here's some properties of trapezoids. So our perimeter, again, add up all the sides. Perimeter doesn't change between figures. Your area of a trapezoid, this is what changes. So this says half of your height times your bases added together. That's how you find your area. So half of your height and add your bases together. All right, so let's see what we can do with these. Okay, so now we have a trapezoid whose height is 6 inches, whose bases are 14 and 11 inches, and we are told to find the area of this. So our area is equal to 1/2 times your height times your small base plus your large base. All right, so area is equal to 1/2. Our h in this case is 6. And our bases are 14 and 11. Does it matter which order I write the 14 and 11 in? No, because the commutative property allows us to add in any order. All right, so keep on working with this. We've got area is equal to, I can go ahead and multiply 1/2 times 6, and I can go ahead and add those together. Half of 6 is 3. 14 and 11 is, what, 25? And then multiply 3 times 25. So 75 inches. And remember, we're dealing with area, so our inches or our area is squared. So square inches is what our unit of measure is. So 75 square inches is the area of this trapezoid. Okay, so in this one it says, Benny has a garden that is shaped like a trapezoid. The trapezoid has a height of 3.4 yards, and the bases are 8.2 and 5.6 yards. How many square yards will be available to plant? Now, just so you know, trapezoids can look like that as well. And I don't know that that's how his trapezoid looks, but I'm just saying that it could look like that. They don't really give us the picture. So he has a garden that is shaped like a trapezoid. The trapezoid has a height. So here's our height, 3.4 yards. The bases are 8.2 and 5.6 yards. How many square yards will be available to plant? So don't forget, we're using 1/2 times your height times your little b plus your big B. So area is equal to 1/2. Our height in this case is 3.4. Our little b is 5.6. And our big B is 8.2. Okay, so now to simplify this, and you know what? You can just totally type this into your calculator just like you see it. So 1/2 times 3.4 times 13.8, and you should end up with 23.46 square yards. You could say yard squared, square yards, as long as your unit of measure has a square somewhere in it. All right, so that's how many square yards he will have available to plant.